Okay. Hi there. Welcome, everybody. This is the Executive Committee of Community Board 1, Manhattan. And Tammy Meltzer, our chair, is out. So I am vice chair, Alice Blank, and I'm happy to host as best I can. I think the first item that we are going to be looking at is the Brownfield cleanup site at 111 Washington, 8 Carlisle. And we have Heidi Dudek from DEC, who some of us may know from her work with us at 250 Water Street, Rodney Rivera from DEC, Scarlett McLaughlin from DOH, that's the Department of Health and Department of Environmental Conservation, and Eamon
Yep.
O'Neill. Thank you, apologies, from the Department of Health. So this is an update. This had come to the Environmental Protection Committee a while back. We had written a resolution with sort of a basic interest as to what precisely were we getting with this brownfield cleanup. And I would really appreciate it, Heidi and everyone involved, if you could give us a clear understanding of how a brownfield cleanup site is defined in New York City. I assume it's a federal definition, and I know I've read it, but just that came up last night in regard to the borough-based jail at 100 Center, and we're just curious if you could just help us with that while you're here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. The brownfield, can you hear me? Yeah. So
Yes.
hello, everybody. I'm Heidi Dudek. I am a section chief in Remedial Bureau B, which covers the 5 boroughs of New York City. Our project manager for Kaiser Scrap Metal and Rector Cleaners is not available tonight, so I will be pinch hitting for her to go over the site. To give you a little bit of background, the Brownfield Cleanup Program is a state program. It's a state remedial program that emulates to a certain extent the federal Brownfield Cleanup Program, which is it's designed to help encourage the redevelopment of brownfields. So these are we all know that New York State and the U.S. in general has a history of industrial and commercial use, and that as businesses have gone out of business or have gone out of business over the years, many urban areas and other areas have been left with what are called brownfields. These are sites that have some minimal contamination, and they don't make them as entertaining or as enticing for redevelopment as what would be considered a green field, so something that's never been previously developed. So the Brownfield Cleanup Program is a program that awards tax credits for the remediation and redevelopment of a site. The actual remediation of the site is the same as under any other state remedial program. The remedy has to protect human health and the environment. The investigation has to define the nature and extent of contamination. So it's not a federal program, it's a state program. It's defined under Part 375. And really the onus of the program is to help encourage the development or redevelopment of brownfields, again, sites that were previously used and have contamination, instead of the redevelopment of sites that have never been developed before. So I'm going to, can I share my screen? Is that all right with everybody?
Oh, Nej, can you assist with that? Because I don't have any
I
allowance
should be able to. Let me see. Tell me if you can see my screen. Am I sharing it now?
We can,
Perfect.
thanks.
All right, so this is the Kaiser Scrap Metal and Rector Cleaners, and I'm just going to give you a brief project summary. I know I've worked with some of you on the 250 Water Street site over by the South Seaport. This is not 250 Water Street. This is a very, what we would call a minimally contaminated site. In fact, the contamination, if the site was a little bit bigger, we would have broken it up because there's very little contamination in it, and it's pretty much localized. So as Alice said, this is located at we say 111 Washington State. You guys add the 8 Carlisle Place. It's about a little bit over a quarter of an acre site. It is in our Brownfield Cleanup Program. The way that a site comes into a Brownfield program, it's a voluntary program. I forgot to say that before. So somebody has a piece of property, they do their due diligence, maybe they're purchasing a property, inheriting a property, something to that effect, and they find that they have contamination. They can voluntarily enter into the brownfield cleanup program. Again, this was originally designed, to help encourage the redevelopment of sites that had already been previously developed versus a green field. So this site voluntarily submitted an application to the department. They have to show that there's contamination that would require remediation. It was accepted into the program. We have to go through, make sure that the site actually has contamination on it. I know it seems odd. People do submit sites that don't have contamination and are trying to say that it does. And with it, because again, it's a voluntary program, the site, as part of their due diligence, had already completed a remedial investigation. So they submitted their remedial investigation report, and along with that, they submitted the remedial action work plan. Those were public noticed in 2022, and they were accepted into the program in November of 2022. Again, we review them, and we have to make sure that they meet our requirements. So by the time we got through everything, because again, some of you are familiar with our program, we have what we call the COC season, or the certificate of completion. At the end of the year, a lot of sites are trying to get their final engineering reports in. So it takes us some time during that time. But the reports were approved in March of 2023. So again, a little bit of history on here. From 1934 to 1978, it was a scrap metal dealer, hence the name Kaiser Scrap Metal and Rector Cleaners. From about 78 to 1983, it was a rental facility. I believe that was Enterprise, and they are the ones that actually had the contamination. There was an on-site refueling tank underground, an underground petroleum storage tank, and that's actually, it had a leak. The tank was closed in 1997 in place, which means the tank was filled with concrete. And then the building was used from 2001 to 2006 as a dry cleaning distributor. No dry cleaning activities actually took place on site. Oops, we got there. So to give a quick summary of what was found during the remedial investigation, there is really limited contamination. It's mostly petroleum related, your standard gasoline station contamination, some volatile organic compounds related to that, benzene, toluene, and semi-volatile compounds. And they're really located in where the historical underground storage tank was closed in place. There's some limited metals and polyaromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs as we call them. And that's really just associated with historical fill and the old timber pilings. As you guys all know, Lower Manhattan has a lot of fill in it. And that's really what we saw at depth. And as I mentioned before, the tank was closed in 1997. So that was a bit ago, even for me. So here's really, and I'm going to, hopefully you can see this. I'm going to try to blow up my screen here, so bear with me. Let's see if this works. So what you have here, here's Washington Carlisle Street. This was the driveway in here. The underground storage tank was in this corner right here, and this is really where there was the only contamination that was really found. There was some minimal, like I said, historical fill throughout the site, but really there was just some residual groundwater contamination associated with that underground storage tank in this area here. And then they did find some what we call non-aqueous phase liquid. Really, it was the creosote in that for some underground storage, or some, not underground storage, sorry, some historic pilings in this area right here. And that was at depth at about 28 feet. But really, the impacts are at about 10 to 13 feet below grade at the groundwater. And like I said, in the surface above that is some minimal metals and SVOCs associated with historical fill. And let me undo what I just did. So, and this says proposed. It actually isn't proposed. It was the original. Sorry, I grabbed the slide quick today. So the remedial action work plan that went out for public comment had a track for restricted residential use. So they have a 2-foot cover or 2-foot excavation. That's the soil excavation across the site. remove the closed underground storage tank, do some in situ solidification of the area where they found the creosote napple, and that really is injecting concrete and mixing it in that area to solidify that contamination. An in situ groundwater treatment in the area where the tank was. Again, this is injecting in there. It's Petrofix. It stabilizes the area and then degrades the contamination in the area there, and is the remediation of the groundwater. Sorry, loss of words there for a minute. So, and then again, this is a track 4. Again, it means that they're going to manage contamination, the historical fill beneath there in the long term. So the cover system, and in this case, the cover system is going to be the building. And then this site will have an environmental easement placed on it, which stays with the property forever, and a site management plan that again says that there was contamination, or there is some minimal contamination left in place, and it will need to be managed if for some reason somewhere down the line the building is removed and somebody goes to redevelop the site. So this is a figure of the remediation. So essentially the purple area here is a 2-foot cut across the site. And again, it's very difficult on my laptop here, but I'm hoping that I am zooming in. So these pink lines that you see here going to this orangish square are the lines and the vent lines associated with the underground storage tank. That area in there is outlined with this brown. That will be excavated. In fact, it's right now, most of it has been excavated. They have probably about another few days left of it. And then removed and disposed. And this little green area here is where that in situ stabilization, or the concrete, will be injected into the subsurface. They began that, or are beginning that either today or tomorrow, and that's scheduled to be completed in the next week or 2. And then this blue area, and that's shown here in this blow up, that's where they're going to inject the Petrofix. And I'm just going to flip to my notes here to make sure that I've got everything right. Yeah, and that's going to be an anaerobic treatment of the petroleum contamination. Again, it's an underground storage tank, so this is like your typical gas station, except for this has already been closed, or it was almost closed, remediated back in 1997. And what they're going to be doing is making sure that they have this 2-foot cover or excavation of soil that exceeds restricted residential use, and then they'll put the building on top of it. I believe here they're going to over excavate for their foundation, but really for the remediation, they only needed to do a 2-foot cut. And then one thing that I did forget is that because this is going to take a little while to go forward, again, this is all at depth, starting from 10 to about 25 feet, there will be an ongoing groundwater monitoring program. I know that there was a lot of questions that we received, particularly when the skies, unfortunately, down there were turning lovely shades of orange. With regards to the community air monitoring program, I know you're familiar with the one that was done at 250 Water Street. That was an extraordinary program, or is an extraordinary program due to the contamination that was there. This is a typical community air monitoring program. We do have DOH on the line that can be able to answer more questions with it, but essentially we have a station that is upwind monitoring what is coming on site, and then a station down gradient or downstream from where the work is going, measuring what could potentially leave the site. It is at a place that's set with thresholds that if they detect anything at the threshold level, work will stop. There are remedial measures to help mitigate it. It's looking for dust, which is PM10, which again is different than, I know some people are out there using personal air monitors that are measuring PM 2.5. And DOH can cover that, but that's a much different type of particulate that they're measuring. It's not related to dust. And then we also look for volatile organic compounds. We would be looking to see whether or not there's anything in the air that's volatilizing off the soil. So there were about, I guess actually now it's June 22nd, about a month into it. We've had no issues, knock on wood. Everything has been going good. We get daily field reports that tell everybody what's been going on and what was the camp data. Those are, as always, on our DEC info locator. I know Alice is familiar with that, so she'll be able to guide you to it. If not, I can step you through it later. But again, this is everything that we're doing here. Everything is protective of human health and the environment. We do everything in a very conservative manner. We've had folks stopping by the site from our regional office. Our project manager has been down there, and everything has been going very smoothly. We haven't had any issues. And like I said, this is a site, it's essentially an underground storage tank removal as part of the brownfield cleanup program. There's very little contamination there, and at this point in time, we don't anticipate there being any issues. And I'm going to can send you the presentation, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I can't see anybody, so I can't see if there were questions or concerns. So I apologize if I flew through that, but I couldn't see you and my screen at the same time. I'm doing this from home, so
it's fine, Heidi.
again,
Thanks
I have
very much. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, as I was going to say, I have Department of Health on there. I know there were a lot of concerns. Unfortunately, they began work right as those wonderful fires and I'm not calling the fires wonderful. That was the wrong term. Those horrible fires in Canada started, and the smoke started moving into New York, and particularly into New York City. And I know that there was some of that people believe may have been coming from the site, but that was not the case.
Can you just go over the timeline for the remediation?
Sure, and I actually just got an update, and I'm going to go through that. They started back in May, and to date they have removed the tank, and it's getting ready for disposal. They have to then remove the concrete that was below the tank that was supporting it. It looks right now like there's very little impact in there. Everything is staged on site. I think they have a few more bits and pieces of the tank to remove. When they did come in with some concrete within the tank that had some petroleum on it, they sprayed it with the Atmos foam. For those that are familiar with 250 Water Street, that's the white foam, and it's an odor suppressant. So they've been making sure that there hasn't been, and we've requested everything is proactive, and they've been doing that. Looking at this, they're looking at the remainder of the underground storage tank will probably be completed by Monday. The in-situ stabilization, again, that's the mixing of concrete at depth to control the non-aqueous phase liquid associated with the timbers. That is scheduled to be completed again, probably next week. This is a program that runs concurrent with the redevelopment of the site. So they are looking to do some, they'll have, a lot of the 2-foot cover will be, or the 2-foot cut will be done. The underground storage tank is going to be completed next week. They're thinking the IFS will be done next week. And then what they're going to be looking at is working on some of the foundational elements. So they're thinking that might go forward from there, and that really they're hoping that the whole remediation is going to be done by early fall. And that we should be...
Yeah, Tammy's joined us. Tammy, I'm just going to continue on this because this, of course, was in our committee, so this is perfect. I took over just briefly, but it fell very much under the radar. I didn't, it never came to me until very recently, and so I'm delighted that you could come. But I'm just wondering, in terms of updates and kind of having exchanges, it doesn't have to be at the extent we, of course, do 250, but what can you provide in terms of general updates to our committee and the people that are concerned about
we can
next
send
steps?
you emails. I mean, I can give you an email. I mean, they're really, for the most part, most of the remedy is going to be completed in the next 2.5 weeks, and then it will be in the redevelopment phase, and then they'll come in and they'll do some more of it as they get closer towards the end, and then when it goes into full clean construction. But we can give you, we can send you a.
Yeah,
I can't
guess
guarantee you a weekly. We're very busy, but we can give you like when this next phase is done in the next 2 weeks, we can tell you when it's done. Obviously the dailies are up there every day. If you have a question anytime in there, just email me. I'm pretty good about emailing us.
Okay, that's good to know.
Within-
So are there only 2 air monitoring stations on the whole site?
Yes.
Is that,
Yes, that's
that seems
normal.
sort of
I mean, it's a very small site, and that's very normal.
and then what does the groundwater monitoring program consist of?
Those are just going to be groundwater monitoring wells to ensure that the petroleum, and it is a very minimal amount of petroleum in there, is degrading like it should. It's just an ongoing groundwater monitoring program. So those will be monitoring wells.
And what is this foundational work that you're referring to? I'm not sure it's clear to me. So when the foundation, where does the brownfield work?
We don't actually get involved in that. They just said that they're going to, the remedy, they have to now work on some sheeting and shoring as far as the stuff that they need to do. I can call up my email. Sorry, I'm not the project manager of it. So some of the details, let me see if I can get on.
That would be helpful just so, because I think
Greg.
there's a lot of,
I can speak to
great.
that if you
Thanks,
want me
Greg.
to do a quick summary.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Greg Weica from Langen Engineering. I'm the senior project manager running the BCP project from our end. The foundational elements consist of the structural bracing that has to be put in at the southern end of the site against 109 Washington, as well as what's called a soil mix or a soilcrete wall, very similar to the ISS that we're doing for the El Napo, but these are very deeply drilled shafts where they mix concrete into soil, and that's going around the perimeter of the partial cellar for the new building in the northern part of the site. So right now they literally are just going around drilling it's a 3-foot diameter hole, injecting cement grout and mixing it with paddles in the soil, and then that cures like a very tall cement column. And then eventually they will dig inside of that to their final depth.
what is the final depth going down?
Oh, I think it's probably at the deepest part for the building core and elevator pits. I think it approaches 40 to 45 feet below street grade.
Wow. Is there an archaeological component that's being reviewed by the city in any way, or should
Not
it?
that I'm aware of. I mean, obviously, if something like that were to come up during construction, that would be brought to the attention of the appropriate authorities. But yeah,
That's not required as part of the program,
no.
or
No,
part
that's
of the
not part of our
development?
program.
And
No.
yet not ours. I mean, yeah, it's just if something were to be found, it would be reported
Okay, well,
and dealt with.
I appreciate the updating, Heidi, because this is kind of, we're trying to catch up here, so that whatever you can give us is helpful, and whatever, if there's a plan that you could, well, I know there is one, so if you could send the plan that shows where the monitoring is, that would be helpful too.
Also wanted to.
You can go into the DEC info locator. It's the monitors. This is not 250 Water Street. This is
No, I
not the
appreciate
same
that, yeah.
level. At each day you have the dailies show where the monitors were, and we asked Langen to also
Okay.
post all the community air monitoring data on there too. So if you can just go into DEC info locader again, I can send you the presentation, and it has the link in there.
Okay, that
or
would
I
be
can step you
excellent.
guys through it.
We'll certainly share that, obviously, at full board. Okay, I know there was a lot of
Oh,
interest in this project, so
We have a lot of hands up. A lot of don't necessarily know how to raise their hand, but I'm getting texts, and so
all right, well, let's start with,
once we get through, I want to make sure.
yeah, absolutely. So let's start with Justine.
So much. Appreciate it, Alice. And thank you, Heidi and Greg, for the presentation. So I have some basic questions. In 1997, you said that they sealed or they did something with the tank because at that point they realized it was leaking.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
No, it's a standard protocol in 19, and I don't have the spills or the report. Greg might know it, but in 1997, when the tank was taken out of commission, one of the ways that you close a tank is that you literally just fill it with concrete, and that's what was done.
They emptied it of whatever was in it, and then
Yes.
they
Yep.
fill it with concrete, and then even that leaked into the soil and into the.
No, I'm guessing looking at it, there was probably a small leak in the tank at some point in time.
In the years before.
I think,
Okay.
yeah. Yep.
Okay. And so then that brings me to the groundwater contamination. Where does that groundwater go? So I'm looking at your chart to see where the contamination is. It looks like it was contained and then you've tested outside of a certain area and it's clear. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, and let me see if I can do something here. I thought I had, all right, the groundwater is, goes towards Carlisle Street. It's at about 10 to 12 feet below grade. Nobody in New York City drinks the groundwater. It's, again, it's about 10 to 12 feet going towards Carlisle Street. And like I said, there wasn't a significant amount of contamination in the groundwater. I'm trying to call it up to pull that up, but there wasn't really a large amount of contamination at all. In fact, it's probably one of the cleaner sites out there, to be quite honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the 2-foot cutout, what does that mean? And I mean, I saw like a rectangle that went 2 feet into.
It's again, because it's going for a track 4, which means it's not going to achieve completely unrestricted free disposal like conditions. And that's perfectly acceptable. What we require is, if anything, and it's called a track 4 underneath the brownfield cleanup program, if there's going to be any contamination left in place at depth, they have to have, for restricted residential, a minimum of 2 feet of cover that meets restricted residential criteria. So DEC and DOH, it's in Part 375. These are concentrations of just about all the things out there that we would look for that are perfectly acceptable and protective of human health and the environment. So it's also a part of the whole process of the bookkeeping. 2 feet of the excavation down to 40-some feet are considered for remedial purposes. This site doesn't need to remediate below that. That's all that's required. And again, there's tax credits involved with that. So you would just make sure that, they get 2 feet of credit for it, and the rest of that's the redevelopment.
2 feet of credit, they could build 2 feet high. I don't know what that means, 2 feet of credit.
No, I'm sorry. The cost of remediating that 2 feet counts towards their brownfield cleanup tax credit. There is no need for them to excavate any deeper than that to remediate the site. They will meet their remedial requirements and be protective of human health and the environment at a 2-foot cut over the majority of the site. There are some areas that need deeper excavation.
So on that tax question, can you just remind us what the advantage is to the owner in terms of the tax consequence? What is the savings that the owner gets?
The taxes part, and I'm really bad at what it is. It's all laid out on there, but there are different tax credits that they will receive for the cost of the remediation, and it all depends on whether the site is a volunteer. Well, actually, I don't think that's it. It all depends on where the site is located, how they came into the program. Are they in an end zone? Greg, I don't have it in front of me. Our expert is Sarah Quant, and she's not on here. She can rattle it off. I would have to call up my cheat sheet to give you the tax credits. But there are different levels.
Let's let the community go. Worry less about tax credit.
I'd like to have that information just as a follow-up, Heidi. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I can give it
happy
to you. I'm trying not to give you specifics because unless I have my cheat sheet open, I won't give you the correct numbers of which go for which.
right.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll stop
thank you.
talking.
Pat,
Oh, sorry. Thank you,
you're
Heidi.
done?
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
Pat, hi.
Thank you. Hi, Heidi. Hi, Greg. So I'm friends with the people who live at 109 Washington, and when the crew showed up without any notification, they contacted me. And first I'd like to know, shouldn't they have been contacted to be informed that this was going to happen on the site? And if so, who should have contacted them?
Well, we put out that they're in, and it's our DEC listserv. Again, we have brownfields all through Manhattan and all of 5 boroughs. So there's construction work going on all the time. The best thing that I can say is to keep a listserv. Is our DEC website, and it sends out, like, every time we're getting ready to start a project, we send out a fact sheet or something to that effect. Marnie isn't on here, so I can't give you the date that it will or when it went out. In general, what we.
I was just to like to speak more to the question. I think so. We've been, you know, the design team for 111 Washington has been in close contact with the owner of 109 Washington and the engineer that they have retained to make sure that what's going on at 111 Washington is safe for 109. So, you know, I hear what you're saying. You know, we've been in touch with the owner of 109 and their engineer, and, you know, I've been doing this for 15 plus years. This is where it's not really in the DEC realm to, I mean, well, the DEC informs the community and the public that the remediation is starting, but the start of construction should, you know, probably have been, you know, informed, you know, you should have been informed of that by our owner, but by our owner or the owner of 109, like the owner of that building, maybe, you know, probably should have let their tenants know that construction was going to be starting at the adjacent site at some point in the near future.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Greg, can I just jump in?
Yeah.
I think there's a very good distinction, and I'm sorry. DEC only has purview under the remediation. We have no purview underneath construction. So anything to do with the building department and anything else like that, DEC doesn't have anything to do with it. There's a whole other realm that I can't answer to. We notify the public that, you know, remediation is going to start in a certain amount of time, and the exact date, we don't usually send that out.
So I'm not talking about construction, I'm talking about the remediation. And the residents of 109 were not notified by either their owner or by your, you know, agency that remediation was going to start. And of course, you all know that since we lived through 9/11, we're sensitive to the fact that, you know, we don't know what contaminants are in on that site. We just know that it's contaminated. And so don't you think that the residents should have been notified? You know, that, yes, I understand that you notified the owner.
Yeah, it's part of our citizen participation plan, and we do hear you, and we're trying to figure out ways. When the application first came in, there are hard copies of the notice that are sent out to everybody, letting them know that there's an application in there and that there's going to be a brownfield site. And then our listserv. And the thing that I would have to say is that for anybody, anywhere, if you want to know what's going on from the DEC's perspective, is to sign up for our listserv. We send out fact sheets on every Wednesday, and sometimes on other days if there's something critical that needs to get out that didn't make it to a Wednesday delivery. That's how we communicate with the public because of the, you know, the vast number of people. What I would suggest is that we will make sure, yes.
Heidi, when people sign up, they have to know what region to sign up for. Could you very specifically say what region this neighborhood is?
You can sign up
for.
for.
It's by county. You would sign up for Manhattan. It's signing up by the county, or you could sign up for all of New York City. You don't need to sign up for like a specific neighborhood or anything to that effect.
I'd like to just make a suggestion that going forward, because people don't know when a crew shows up, they don't know what agency that they should be contacting. And if their landlord didn't let them know that the remediation was going to start, they have no idea who those people are on the site and what's going on. And so I just make a suggestion that it would be a good idea that the people who live in the closest proximity to any of the sites put a notice up. Just tack a notice on the front door, or put some under the door, so that people know who to contact, which agency is working on this, and that's something that's going on.
Yeah, no, and we hear you, and we're, like I said, we are working on figuring out how better to communicate with the start of these things. We do hear you, and I do understand, and I would say that particularly contacting, not just for this particular project, which really should be done in just a few months. I would definitely always just reach out to our regional office, because they know everything that's going on within the 5 boroughs, or, if it's, and really I would say that if you want to know something that's going on as far as DEC remediation, there are a lot of different divisions within the DEC. You can always reach out to me. Alice will tell you, and I will try to put you in contact with someone. But again, I understand, I hear you, and I will take that back. That's a good point.
Pat, you raised an excellent point, and I'm just surprised. Heidi, can you just tell us and confirm that the state has no required community outreach that before a remediation progress begins on a brownfield site? There's no required.
It is, and it was done a while ago, and it's sometimes there is a delay between it, but there was. And again, if you're not on the listserv, and I think that it was the notice that remediation was going to start, we started getting some notices. But when the remediation work plan, or when we approved the RAP and that went out, that said that construction was going to begin then, and that went out on a fact sheet in March, and it said it was going to start in May.
And that's all that you're required to do. That's all the state is required to do, is to send that out, and presumably the board got it, but somehow we missed it in some way.
Yeah, usually if there's a longer delay, we'll send out a second fact sheet that says, but again, because it's, the actual start of construction is not really in our hands, so we can be told it's going to start sometime in like a 6 to 8 week period, and we'll put it out, and that's what we have.
Yeah, that seems
and that's really the way it works.
Yeah, incomplete. That's right. Anyway,
just to add one thing, I'm pretty sure not only we have 2 public repositories for the project. It's the New Amsterdam Public Library and CB1. So at milestones during the project, we've sent.
Can you confirm, Greg?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be here, but confirm what email you're using for CB1, because we no longer have our district manager. So if you've been sending stuff to him, it's a possibility. Or Diana, it may be in a black hole. So if you could just confirm for us, it doesn't have to be now. But some of the other things the public is actually chatting back to me about promises that were made in meetings with our electeds and DEC. So I'd like to give Nancy and Esther an opportunity to speak. And Greg, you can certainly tell me what email on the side that you have. All right. And for everybody from the public who has not signed in, or anybody from the agencies, I ask that you please sign the attendance sheet for, the business records. Alice, you okay with that? Can we go to?
Nancy's next up. Yep, that's right here. So if you can unmute her on Edge, that would be great. I think, I don't know, I cannot do that.
Requested, so. That's okay. I did. I sent a request. She should be able to unmute herself.
Great. And I don't have the second person you mentioned, Tammy, so maybe you can find a way for her to join us as well.
Also, while you're looking, Nicole.
Nancy's unmuted.
There she is.
Nancy's unmuted.
Yes, Nancy's unmuted. You could go ahead, Nancy.
Okay. Oh, I am unmuted. Okay, great. Yeah, it wasn't working. Okay. So, sorry. First, I wanted to know who exactly does Dan? Is it Dan? I'm sorry, Greg. Greg, who do you work for?
I work for Langen Engineering.
And who are they? Are you working for the developers of 111?
Yes, we are the engineer of record for the
For the
brownfield site.
remediation.
Yes, correct.
Oh, for the remediation
We-
only?
No, I'll be honest with you. We are also the geotechnical and site civil engineer, and we're also doing surveying work for the project as well.
Great. So, I mean, I had a question about the DEC, but now that I'm talking to you, so are you are you the people who did the survey of our building
Uh,
of 109? Sorry, just to be clear, I meant
the
109.
yes, I'm sure you're talking about the what I would call the plumb surveys to understand the position of the building.
Well, there was a complete structural engineer report done, like a 600-page, like
That
complete
probably was not
inspection.
us, though. No.
That was not you.
No.
So that
Yeah.
would have been our 109 people, our landlords.
Yeah, probably yes, because Langen does not actually do structural engineering, so that probably was an engineer retained by your owner. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Unless it's something that I'm not familiar with, but it's yeah.
That's actually really helpful. Thank you, because
Yeah.
we did not know that. We were not
Okay.
told that. We were led to believe it was the 111. It was you guys.
We could have we could have commissioned it too. I'm not positive, but you know, all I know is I don't remember seeing that come across my emails, and I'm like fully in tune with this project, and I super organized, and I didn't see it, so it may have just not passed my channel. So
okay, so
Yeah.
I know we're talking about the DEC, but this is connected, so I'm going to go along, and I'm going to let Esther handle
Sure.
the DEC comments, but I would like to address our structural stability, which is really in danger. And first, we want to know what you guys are doing to protect our building and monitor it.
This is not Langen's scope, but I generally know what is happening. There are vibration and optical monitors on the building that are being monitored 24/7, and that is done to understand if any movement is happening during construction work.
So,
And as far as I know, because I talk to the construction manager daily, there's been no issues. There's like a 25-foot no do not cross line that's been like staked out at the site, because we can't get closer to that until we put in that bracing that is going to go in very soon, but we had to get the tank out first in order to put the bracing in to protect the building.
So, okay, so first of all, whose scope is it? You said it's not your scope to be.
Well, to do the Grubb or through Consigli, the construction manager has hired a third-party engineer to do the vibration and optical monitoring.
And do you know who that is?
No, but that I can find out.
Yeah, could you please? That's super important.
Yeah.
So just to let you know, I mean, obviously this is such a huge project on many levels that there's many fingers here, in different pots. So it's, we're just trying to figure that out of who we can talk to and find out what's going on. So first of all, when you're talking about the bracing, you're referring to these cement sort of like tubes that are going to go down 40 to 45 feet?
That's for the partial cellar. For the bracing, there are similar cement columns that are being put in the ground that will be the foundation for metal steel bracing that gets put on the side of the building and welded to it.
So
it's like just big bracing arms to keep the building in place.
So who's doing that?
Who is the foundation contractor, Urban Foundation Engineering, will be installing that.
And do you know when that's happening?
In the next probably month or two. I would say probably by the end of July, based on what I know, because that's a critical piece to get it to keep this thing moving forward. We can't do much until that bracing is up.
And do you know if plans were already submitted to the city for that?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
We would not be doing what we're doing without full approval from the DOB and everyone else.
Is it possible for us to get copies of those plans?
They should be, a lot of that, that should be available on the DOB Biz website. I don't, there's like, if you go to the project or if you look by the site address and the block and lot for the particular job for this new building, there's an items required list, and in that there's just a whole list of links to files that you can pull out of there.
Okay, so now, so what I should tell you, even though you may not really be the person dealing with this, well, first of all, we were told by the DOB, the tenant advocacy unit, and our rep, Marte's office there, his assistant Connor, that the engineer of record was asked to submit new plans to the city for approval that would be to show more securing of our safety towards our building before they were able to work. Is that your company?
No, that is not us.
Okay, which company would that be? Do you know?
I do not.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of engineers here going on.
Yeah, it is typical. It's typical. There's a a whole host of structural, mechanical.
These are really important
architects.
questions.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're going on to 7, that we move it along. So go ahead and let's
okay, so
make sure we get everything
I
out.
guess just to wrap it up, I mean, well, so I just want to confirm. So Langen, you and Langen are the engineers of record for 111, but only for the remediation?
Well, no, we are doing the remediation, but we're also doing site civil, which deals with plumbing and utility connections and the sidewalks that get built at the end of the project. And we're also the geotech, the geotechnical engineers. We've designed the SOE system for that partial cellar, so we have a professional engineer on site inspecting that
What's
on a daily basis.
What's SOE?
Supportive excavation. It's those 40-foot long,
okay, gotcha.
deep
other things.
concrete columns that go down. They get anchored into bedrock.
So now, just a last point. You probably know that Washington Street was built on landfill.
Yes.
So do you know how deep bedrock can be found?
It's around 45, 50 feet.
Okay, so now, as far as we understand, in 1885, when our building was built, there were no pilings or such. So what we believe is that our foundation is literally like 10 to 13 feet, and it's only our basement with some stone. Can you confirm that? Has that been imaged or studied?
I can't confirm. That would have been a structural engineer's assessment.
Okay, so because just so that you know, we have things flying off our shelves and breaking, and the shaking that we've had. There's cracks in the building. The shaking that we have. We're extremely concerned about our safety and this building that's already leaning. And the structural engineers report that we saw from November told us of 109 told us the conclusion was our building was poor to fair condition with existing structural stress, and that was from November. So the pounding and the piling and everything that's been going on that continues to shake our building, and like literally one of my neighbors had plates fly out of her kitchen cabinet and crash to the floor. So this is not a small thing. We are not trying to be difficult. We're not being dramatic. We're genuinely concerned, and really no one is listening to us, and we can't get any answers. So I just really want to make that clear.
Well, on that, I will offer this because I learned about this today, and I think it's a great idea. The construction manager is going to put up some placards on the fencing, and I believe they've opened up a new email address, and they're going to be so you can submit questions for answers and feedback, and they're also going to start weekly updates. So I'm sure they're going to set up a listserv similar to what DEC has, so everyone can be kept informed of construction progress and schedule.
Yeah, I mean,
breaches
that's
and things
great,
like that.
but it's
Okay.
not
Greg,
really
can you do
helpful.
us hold on, Nancy?
Yeah.
Greg, can you do us a favor and get us all that information? Help be the facilitator so that information gets to the community board so we can therefore share it back out to the public. If it's just posted on a sign and it rains the next day, that's not really going to be.
No, it's gonna be no. It's like it's what I was told. It's gonna be like it's not just a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper that's tacked to the. It's gonna be a permanent placard. But I could relay that to the construction manager, and
send us his contact details. That would be great.
yeah, sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Nancy, can we go to the next person? You okay then?
Yeah, I just want to say the construction managers and our landlords are extremely hostile and they're not helpful. So that is great, but it's not really going to help us. We need we need the work to stop until we have adequate bracing. That's our point.
Nancy,
go on.
I just wanted to say the obvious. You've contacted the Department of Buildings and let them know of this concern and called 311.
We've had dozens of calls to 311. We've had dozens of calls to the DOB. I was on the phone with 2 different people today with the DOB. No one cares. I think most people don't care. They also don't understand our situation. They think that we're just being difficult tenants. And no, our building is in real risk. It has been in real risk. It leans already. All of this is documented.
So maybe
nothing holding us up. We're just sitting on ground that's being dug around us.
We're at a disadvantage here without our district manager. Maybe Tammy, we can look into the, sort of a call to see if we can do some follow up at the DOB. But
the thing we need is to stop work until the bracing is done, and that's how we will be secure. That's it.
Okay.
We were told it was going to be done, and it's not.
Thanks for bringing it to our attention. It's very important. Very important.
Thank you.
Indeed. Yeah. We have a call in and then Avery, and I think that'll close this out. So let's try to, we've heard the problem. So maybe not repeating the problem, but other questions for our representatives from the call-in user. I'm sorry, there's no name here. If we can.
Call-in user 917414. You may unmute. There we go. You're unmuted. Go ahead. Yes, we can hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes. This is Joel Kupferman from the Environmental Justice Initiative, and Avery will. Is it possible to let Avery speak first? He's my intern. Can we just switch order?
Sure. Avery, you can go ahead.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right. Hi. Yeah. Like Joel mentioned, I'm an intern with the Environmental Justice Initiative. You might also know us as the New York Environmental Law Justice Project. It's a new name. Joel, I think you're still unmuted. If you could just mute, that would be fantastic.
I took care of it. Continue.
Thank you so much. So we are representing Esther Regelson and the other tenants of 109 Washington Street. As there are some, as you've heard, there are some major concerns with regard to the building bracing, but also with regard to the dust exceedances and the exceedances that have been monitored by tenants in the building who have their own air monitors. And I know that it was mentioned earlier in the presentation that the monitors that are being used are only measuring PM10. And we take umbrage with this because we believe that it's not good enough and that the monitors need to be measuring PM2.5. As PM2.5 is a smaller particulate, it's not going to be visible in the air. And if the dust is going to be carrying PM10 in the first place, then it's also going to be carrying PM2.5. And PM2.5 is even more likely to be carried as it's a much smaller particulate. And we also have some issues with regard to the fact that there have been like numerous issues with call-ins on the site. There have been workers cited not wearing the proper safety equipment. There was a DEP inspector that went to visit the site and who was spoken to afterwards, I believe, by Joel, and they informed us that they were not even aware that this was a brownfield site that they were visiting. And while they were there, they also informed us that they issued a citation. That citation is it's a class 1 ECB violation, and that violation is still pending. It's still open, and that was as of 2 weeks ago. And it was for improper safety conditions on the site. In addition to that, as I believe was mentioned, these people in the building in 109 Washington Street, many of them are 9/11 survivors. As you know, this building is in the 9/11 fallout zone, and so these potential exceedances with particles like PM 2.5 are particularly concerning because this population is especially vulnerable to anything that may cause lung risks, may irritate asthma, anything like that. Which is why we believe it is so important to be measuring PM 2.5 at this construction site. And we're just concerned because these numerous violations and these numerous calls to the DOB haven't resulted in any action. And we're very concerned for the residents that are living there, both for the structural foundation of the building, in addition to the dust particulates that are coming off as well.
Well, on the DOB front, if you'd be good enough to send us, Avery, a summary, that you've just provided, that perhaps, Tammy, if you feel like this is something that we could write the DOB commissioner to underline the significance in the community and the concern. As far as the DEC perspective on the scale of the particulate, I don't know. This is something I assume Heidi can respond to.
Actually, this is good. The community air monitoring plan is DOH is actually here to address those concerns. Scarlett, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yep, this is Scarlett Messier-McLaughlin. I'm with New York State Department of Health, and right, the community air monitoring plan that we have in place for all sites involves having upwind and downwind monitoring, both for VOCs and particulates. And yes, that is correct. They are for PM10. Some of this, actually, I brought someone along from our Bureau of Toxic Substance Assessment because I know there were some additional, a little bit more detailed and involved questions that we may get. But I don't think she's on as a panelist yet. She is here. I don't know if you see her, Nicole Vitilla.
Yeah.
I don't think she can speak at this point.
She's not on.
She said she was on in the email.
Did you need her as a panelist?
Yep, she's there.
Oh.
There, she just showed up.
Oh.
Nicole Vitola.
There. Right. I mean, I do know that, during this time as they were doing work, there were the wildfires that were going on too. And air quality in general, we were seeing a lot of exceedances. And again, like the haziness that you can see that was associated with the smoke and those small particles certainly could affect other monitors too in that PM 2.5 range. And I think that could have had something to do with it. But I'd like to let Nicole speak to that a little bit more. I know there were a lot of questions.
Nicole is now a panelist. She may speak. You can unmute Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Vitillo. I'm a research scientist in the Bureau of Toxic Substance Assessment. And I can speak a little bit to probably what was being picked up on the at-home monitors. Generally, those are more of a qualitative type device. There are lots of different low-cost monitors available, so people can use them in their home and monitor, when things are worse or better on a more qualitative level, but they're not really something that's used quantitatively. The other issue is that they're inside, so there are other potential sources like vacuuming, cooking, cleaning. As Scarlett said, it was during the wildfire event. So I would assume that it was definitely picking up some of that as well. Generally, we don't monitor for PM 2.5 during construction because dust is the main issue, and that's going to be better captured in the PM10 fraction. And anything that is leaving the site, the whole point of the community air monitoring is to capture before it leaves the site. So there is room for much other potential exposures and sources that would contribute to maybe what's being picked up on those at-home monitors.
Right. So I mean, the importance of having the community monitoring plan have monitors that are in both the upwind and downwind direction on the site itself is really to be close to where the actual activities are going on, the excavation and whatnot. And the reason for that is so that you can see, pretty much immediately if there's any sort of an effect on those monitors. If when you get monitors that are farther out or in people's living spaces, there's a lot of other confounding factors. I mean, for instance, if you were just cooking, they're very sensitive monitors that they'll pick it up, and it can't tell that, you're cooking something, or you've sprayed Febreze, or you're just vacuuming, or like there's a little bit of the air conditioner kicks on, and some more dust kicks up. It's really, we're trying to see is if the construction itself, if the ground intrusive activities themselves are causing dust to get kicked up, or volatile organic compounds to increase in there, so that actions can be taken quickly on the site itself to address that. I think, for instance, when there was that tank and there was that small amount of petroleum that was seen around there, and they used the Atmos foam there, that's one of the quick actions that can be taken in order to ensure that as the excavation's going on, as the remediation's going on, it can be managed so that it doesn't affect the surrounding community. And that's really best handled at the site, at the fence lines, to see, when actions are needed. When you get farther out, you're not going to have as fast of a reaction, and you're not going to be able to know if it's coming from the site itself. So hopefully that helps shed a little bit of light on it. It doesn't really speak to the 2.5.
Say one thing.
I'm
Is it okay?
Let's let Avery just finish, and then Justine jump in.
So one thing
the public.
One thing I'd just like to clarify is that you say you only have an upwind and a downwind monitor. How are you accounting for vertical drift in that instance then? Because in an environment like New York City, with lots of tall buildings, there's an effect that's been well documented and well studied of urban canyons being created due to large buildings, and that creates a lot of vertical drift when it comes to the air. So how are you accounting for that leaving the site?
Part of it is the practicality of where we can set monitors. We set them at the breathing height closest to the site itself, but also there's requirements for no visible dust leaving the site, and that can be seen if it's going sideways or up or whatnot. That would require actions to be taken, work to stop to address that as soon as possible. So it wouldn't be really easy to suspend those, and we do tend to see that, for the most part, if there is something that goes in the upward direction, it's typically like if that happens on a very windy day, like you said, canyon effects, things like that, and you can generally see it if there is that.
Yeah, and there's also requirements that they have to be wetting down the site and ensuring that there isn't any dust. There's a lot of proactive measures that are done in order to mitigate that and the potential for it. And again, on for this particular site, I know that they've been proactively working using the foam suppressant if they were in the area for the underground storage tank. And like I said, that's really where the contamination is found at this site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. If the soil or the dirt is wet down, it's less likely to kick up dust and dirt into the air. So that's a very good proactive measure to be taken during this to help manage that.
Okay, thank you. And I'd just like to lastly just reiterate that as Nancy mentioned, the structural concerns are another major concern, and that is something that we believe action needs to be taken on as quickly as possible, because this building.
I'm going to jump in here. Those are major concerns. Would you please follow up and send to the community board the note that identifies when you've contacted DOP, the fact that you haven't been responded to specifically, what these problems are, the concerns are, so we can follow up potentially with a letter. Not that this necessarily would get traction, but perhaps it will. So why don't we do that? I think that's, and Tammy, correct me if I'm wrong, that would be a way that we might be able to be helpful.
We can reach out actually to DOB and talk to our
That's what I'm suggesting, right?
Yeah, I'd be happy to email all that along to you. Yeah, not a problem.
That would be terrific. Thank you. So I think we've got Esther is next. I'm sorry, Justine, you wanted to jump in on this point, but we do.
I will take 1 second. Thank you so much, Alice. And my question is to Scarlett. I think that what Avery was asking about the 2.5 monitors wasn't what he would like, what I would like to see, and what I'm hearing him say is that the 2.5 monitor detection on site. If you have 2 sites, instead of just testing for 10, test for 2.5 there. Because I found your answer not persuasive when you were saying, well, we test for 10 on site. That makes sense. You don't want it to get out. And if it doesn't get out, you're good. But what we're asking for is maybe this requirement is only 10 particles, whatever, but why can't it go lower? Why can't we do better? And that's my request. And I think that's what Avery's saying.
Yeah, yep, I get that. And that's something that, we've brought that concern back now, and we are looking into that as well. We have used the PM10 because it's the particles of that size and smaller. And we do have an action limit for that. And the goal of the camp really is to just be able to take quick actions if we're starting to see, any levels that are approaching our action levels. And our action levels aren't health-based values that mean there's going to be a health concern if that level is hit. It's really to manage best practices with the remediation and ensure that isn't going to be, going off site and anything. But you're right. We aren't having comparison values for the 2.5 right now, and that's something that is, well taken, the concern, and we're taking that back and we are discussing it. But
so that's good to hear, Scarlett, that you're taking it back and discussing it. Could you get back to us to let us know if there's some sort of resolution that can be made, whether it's on this project or a future one, because it's a really important point. So is that something we can hear from you on more sooner than later?
Yeah, I mean, we're bringing it back and we're discussing it internally through the agency and everything. So
yeah,
I mean, it involves
sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense, and appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So we have Esther Riggleson. Thank you. Esther, Onej will help unmute you.
You can unmute, Esther.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm going to rant a little bit. I'm on 4 hours sleep because you guys woke me up at 7 in the morning, as you have been doing every morning. First of all, I want to thank the community board for addressing this issue, and you all wrote a resolution last year to protect us, and none of the points in that resolution were seen to by the developers at 111. They never notified us. We got in touch with Marte almost a year ago, and Marte's office arranged for someone to contact someone in my building when work was to be done and what kind of work, and no one contacted us when the shaking began. Secondly, there's been concrete mashing and shaking and machinery, heavy machinery going on. And I don't understand how that can be going on while you're volatilizing whatever substances in the air, despite whether you water them down, when there's also a brownfield site where you have to carefully dig up the dirt. You should be separating all that digging from whatever abatement is happening, because that digging is severe. Okay. I'm a survivor of 9/11. And when we fought for the Deutsche Bank site to be separated, the demolition from the abatement, 2 firefighters died because they refused to listen to us. Okay. This is dangerous. You have to separate these things. Heavy work from careful work for cleaning up this brownfield. Okay. Also, I have an air monitor, thanks to Joel Kupferman. I understand that you're saying that it could be cooking or spraying or whatever. I'm just sitting here in my chair. My window is closed. The minute that construction started is when the exceedances started. Okay? When the fires started, the needle on the exceedance was practically pinning to 500. The highest when I looked at the meter was 488. Now, how is it possible that you all can, I brought this up with Eamon O'Neill. Thank you for speaking with me, Eamon. I brought this up. How can the site continue to work when there are such high exceedances all over the city, creating more problems, digging up dirt and volatilizing it into the air? Water or no, I'm sorry, but it doesn't do all the work it's supposed to do. You all have to be more careful. I've talked to the whole alphabet city of agencies, and none of you come and help us when we need the help. You are failing us miserably. You have to serve the community. We hire you, okay? So please do better. It's very important.
That is an incredibly poignant cry and a very significant one. Is there something, Heidi and Sarah and all, that you can sort of help in trying to figure out a next step that would alleviate some of these, profound concerns?
I have a request.
Again, we can't. I'm sorry. This is DEC. We are the construction work that has to do with nothing to do with the brownfield. It's not in our purview. I understand that there's a lot of concerns with that. That's a New York City building department, and we don't have anything. The measures that are going on site, I understand your concerns, and I understand the concerns with the wildfires and the air quality with that. We had people in the field during that. The work that's being done as far as the brownfield work is being done in a manner that's protective of human health and the environment. We take our role and our jobs very seriously. We look at the plans. We ensure that, everything is there, that there's sufficient monitoring going on. We've had people stopping by the site on a regular basis. Every time, they don't tell anybody when they're coming. They randomly show up. Everything has been in place. They've been monitoring. They've been doing the work as they are supposed to. The remediation will be done fairly quickly. The majority of it is going to be done in the next 2.5 to 3 weeks, according to Langen. Then they'll be going on to some other things, and then they'll finish up towards late summer, early fall. When you have questions, you have concerns, particularly if they're health related, you've reached out to Eamon. Eamon is an incredible resource. He's there to answer your questions. And I can answer questions as far as the remediation is concerned. I can tell you that we've put into place a lot of proactive measures. We understand the concerns. We've been working in Lower Manhattan for a very long time, particularly a lot in the last 2 years. So I understand your concerns. I understand the fear that's related to everything that's happened there. And, like I said, we've instructed and required a lot of proactive measures to be in place for this particular job. I would like to perhaps alleviate some of your concern. There is the majority of the site is what's considered historical fill, so it's just the materials that were there, that the city has been built on. The contamination that the site is being remediated for is for an underground storage tank, so it's at depth. They're going to treat it, and so I hear you. As far as communication, I did hear the community. We have been hearing the community. We're working with our citizen participation group to come up with better ways to reach out to the public. We understand that there's, particularly in a city like New York City, it's extraordinarily difficult to come up with the best way to be able to reach the amount of people. We'll talk with Langen to see if there's anything we can do to help in that, and with their group to make sure that everything is out there. But I do hear you, and I understand your concerns.
Thanks very much.
Alice and
Yeah.
Tammy, this is Rodney.
Yeah, we're gonna.
DEC.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to put it out there that I'm regional representative, special assistant to the regional director. So I'm in the region. You guys have my contact information, whether it's this site or anything in your district at any point that you think might be DEC related. Please feel free to reach out to me. I will gather up whatever I can to make sure that you get the information you need. And even if it's not us, I'll do what I can to find out who it is and point you in the right direction. That's what I'm here for. I'm in the region, and our regional folks, want to make sure that we're as responsive as possible to all of our community boards.
Well,
Rodney, we appreciate that, but I have a couple really quick questions just so the public educates and understands who they're calling where and when. When work starts at 5:30 in the morning, which is not legal by New York City standards, if they file 311 complaints, people in the neighborhood are told that an inspector will be out in 1 to 2 days. So when it comes to early work, is that a DOB call, or is that specifically back to you because this is part of the brownfield remediation? And then I have a follow-up.
It would probably depend on when we're talking about that work, what stage that work is being done. If it is remedial work, then yeah, it could be us. And then we could follow up with Langdon to make sure that those times are adjusted to the legal working. So it really depends on when what work we're talking about.
I think it's hard for the public to know which one is remedial versus construction.
I totally get that. So feel free to reach out to me when things of that nature occurs, and I can double check with staff if we have remedial work going on, and if we don't, then it would be a city question.
Thank you. Secondarily,
yeah, and Greg, I'm going to ask that you go back and you ensure that, can you provide us if there's been any changes? I'm not aware of any remediation work that's beginning out of hours.
None to my knowledge. No, I mean, the only thing that's sort of related is we get there early just to turn on the camp station. So,
well, Greg, could we just ask you the favor to make sure that Langdon is aware that these concerns have been raised to us tonight?
Well, yeah, I will
at the community board, and that we want to make sure that any remedial work that we have jurisdiction over begins at the proper hours.
Yeah, I'll relay it to my staff, and I've been texting the construction manager. I just shared the email address that the community can send questions to. So I'll text them back now and let them know that that's come up on the call too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We've
nothing
got,
at 5:30 in the morning. I have two other things for the public, and for Heidi specifically, Alice.
Okay,
I'm a little
three
confused.
hands up as well.
I
I think we
see.
should call this, for it, like 7 minutes, and then we
Yep.
should have to.
I would just say during city emergencies where they close the schools and they tell people to stay indoors, and because of air quality being so bad, that we would request that whatever work is being done on the site stop. It does not make sense to me when the air quality was so bad that they canceled all schools, went virtual for the health of everybody, and then you're working outside in dust, creating more dust. So I would just request when we do city issues of emergency, perhaps the state and DEC, and unless there's something untold emergency, that they do not work during those days to compromise the node.
I'm sorry, the part of that broke up. I believe you were asking DEC to
The
work
work
with
would
the
stop
site
on the site when there is an emergency, like what we've just witnessed a week ago with the fire from Canada. That work would not be continuing if the air quality is compromised to that extent.
I'll take that back.
Okay, great. Let us know. Good point. Okay, we have two more and that'll be it. We'll close it out. We really appreciate it. We look forward to the follow-up on both sides. If the summary from the community is incredibly helpful, and the sort of points that we've raised and talked about tonight from DEC and health and Langen will get back to us on some of those points. Dedal, hi. You're up.
And you see Pat too, right? Her husband.
Yeah, I do. I just want to hear from Detta because Pat, you've already spoken, so I was giving it to Detta before. I can't.
Okay, so yeah, I was looking on the DOB website, and it does appear that an inspector got out there at 5:45 in the morning and saw that equipment was being driven around. They didn't have an after-hours variance for work at that hour, so they got a violation. And that was issued yesterday, and it looks like it will lead to a stop work order.
Oh.
So, you know, I'm seeing all these 311 complaints. Like there were like 3 from the 22nd. So they're all in there, and those all, they're referring them to the construction safety enforcement unit instead of the regular construction, instead of the regular inspectors. So, I mean, these calls come in to 311 and they're not ignored. The DOP is getting out there and violations are being written. And they've got one oath violation with a $5,000 fine, and they have another violation DOB with a $3,000 fine. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of incentives in the system for the contractor to comply with.
Right.
Just saying, like, you don't have to feel so powerless because this is hitting them, the actions that are being taken.
Thanks for that information, Detta. That's important.
I wondered if I see DEC and DOH are on the call. Is anyone from the contractor team or the developer team on the call?
I don't think so, I guess.
Yes. Oh, okay, that's okay.
Okay, Pat, last comment.
This is not an unusual request. So Rodney, thank you for volunteering to be the contact person. But we normally ask any work that's going on in our community, we ask the developer, the contractor, that we need to have a number in real time for people to call if they see unsafe conditions, or as the tenants are telling you, work started at 5:30 in the morning. I know no one wants to be called at 5:30 in the morning, but the tenants need to have a resource. They need to know that they can call someone and say, we have this problem. And yes, they have filed the complaints with 311. And yes, the contractor is going to be given a fine. That's the cost of doing business. We need someone in real time that can accept calls from the residents and take action. So if someone's volunteering to...
You're 100% right, and we deal with other sites. As Heidi mentioned, we have hundreds of sites going on, concurrently throughout the city. And there are other developers that have put in place a constituent liaison for their project that acts as actually that. That's something that the community board and the elected officials need to, put a little more pressure as much as they can on the developer to step up and do that. So you're not speaking out of turn or bringing a request that's unheard of. We've seen that done on other sites that we're involved in. But as much as we could mention that to the folks and say that that concern has come our way, that pressure coming from elected officials and the community board has just as much weight, if not a little bit more, than from us.
Thanks so much for raising that, Rodney. Great suggestion, Tammy. I think we should follow up on that. Do we know the developer? Is that apparent? We have all that information. So
we can get it. We'll get it no matter what.
Okay, great. Well,
I'll just say that given what we know, or the 250 water experience, my supervisor, myself, we proactively asked Grubb if we should set up a hotline for this site. And I talked to the client today, and I said, let's talk tomorrow after this call. They seem willing to entertain it, and it
that's great news.
Ask has been made, so I will relay that to her when I get off this call or tomorrow, and
so Greg,
make it clear that it's wanted. So I'm sure it'll come out soon.
what a good way to end this. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's going to be incredibly helpful. So there does seem to be hope ahead. I really appreciate the community coming. I'm sorry we took so much time. This generally would have come to environmental protection, but thanks to Tammy, we could get it in, in the sort of time frame that allowed the stuff to get aired before it, kept going on. So that's why it's here tonight, and we'll continue to follow up. And please send everything to this community board, and that'll be forwarded to our committee and to Tammy, and we'll keep everyone posted. And I'm going to now turn it back over to our chair, and thank you. And thank you all very much, from Heidi to Langen's rep to Eamon to Greg and Sarah. Scarlett.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add, if anybody has any questions again on the site, and I will work with Alice and Tammy to get you updates on what's going on and follow up with things that were brought up on today's call.
Okay.
I did send you my cheat thing on the tax credits. I'm sorry, I could never get that off straight.
No,
and things
I
changed in
appreciate it.
April
Thanks.
1st, so. But
Okay.
again, we did hear the community. Rodney heard you too, so he's going to help us with bringing back the things with citizen participation. And again, just to make sure that the public understands, we are only remediation. Buildings, things we do not aren't under our purview. We have no control over. So I think you have that. But again, DOH, DEC, we're here to answer your questions, and thank you.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to the next topic, if you don't mind. Our Fulton Stall Market, it will be delayed and postponed to July. So we'll take that discussion up in July. And next is actually, okay, here's the situation. For those of us on our community board who have been at a full board meeting, there are 3 people who actively run the back of house in the past. It was Lucian, it was Onej, and it was Lucy. And Diana when she was here. There were lots of them. We are down to 2. So we really are short on bandwidth. When we move back into the offices, which is today is the last fully virtual meeting that we will have on our community board, our options will be fully in person or hybrid. In order to run hybrid in office, you must understand it's like running 2 meetings at once. The online portion, which we are all doing, and the in-room experience. The chair of every committee needs to run their meeting within the room. The office person needs to be able to help the chair and manage some of the other stuff that's going on. My proposal tonight is that we hire a college kid who has been watching what's going on for the month of July to help bridge the road between June and September, when ideally we will have a DM already on site and no longer need. We are getting interns this summer. They are 2 interns that we are also getting as college. They are not here for working at nights. They're there for the support during the week, during the day, for Lucy and Onej. And everyone needs to remember, Lucy is off the entire month of August. So if Onej is going to have any sort of, I don't know, time to go to the bathroom and a cup of coffee, the interns are here for that purpose. The college student who we have, who's currently been shadowing in the office, is only here through the first week in August. I think the other interns start in the middle of July and bridge through to September. So that is where we're going. But in order to bring the college student to pay her for her time for being with us at every night meeting in the month of July, I need a resolution. So if it's real simple, it's a bridge resolution to get somebody on board, paying $17 an hour, which we can pay out of our street fair task force funds, to have another body here at night. So for example, I'll use Susan, who has, probably the most complicated committee. When she's in person, you have to manage the public who comes in and out for whichever whichever license they want to opine for, you have to manage the applicants. And all the steps have to be recorded, all the notes have to be taken. Onej needs to pay attention to that. God forbid the doorbell rings while you're here. Somebody needs a tissue, somebody needs a plug, somebody wants a cup of water. We just need that other body in the room, because I personally don't see any other way. We've had a couple people, and I do mean that by a couple people, volunteer based on the email that I sent out from the board who might be willing. But that's not going to get us where we need to go. That will be a great backup. And when we have a full DM on, having anybody who volunteered to train so they can be a backup looking ahead is a great idea. Anybody have any questions? Susan?
So I'm confused. I'm a little dazed and confused. What I need to understand is there we are, the chairs, with our a staff person from the board, Onej, or if sometimes Lucy or however, and we're doing a live meeting.
Yep.
We're also going to have the camera's going to be on for us to talk to somebody who raises their hand, like I've seen you do at our large meeting on Zoom.
Well, individual committees can choose if they want to do that or not.
I'm not going to.
Everything will still be.
I've chosen.
That's fine.
Mine's all real. I don't want any hybrid.
I have no issues with that. However,
yeah,
we advise if an agency cannot make it, it is a time-sensitive thing, but they can only make it virtually. For example, there are things that, for example, Betty's committee, sometimes on the same CB2s, they can't physically do elections. One of us is going to end up being hybrid. Yes, we're looking to see what we need to move because all the agencies are not used to being in rooms either. This evening's presentation could not have happened on 111 Washington. We might have had to have waited until September, which was completely unacceptable for the public. So this had to be a hybrid meeting if we were in person. If it's hybrid for an agency, it's hybrid allowable for the public. That's the way the rules roll.
Tammy, I just want to say this, and I don't want to speak for any chair, but I think we'll be all wrapped up in our underwear. I'm sorry to say. It's too confusing, and I think the public will get confused. I mean, I'll hear from my fellow chairs, but I would say they should all be in person, and that if unless there's something extenuating, they should all be in person, and it's too hard for the staff as well. And I don't mind having a college student, that doesn't bother me. We're complicated. That's all. That's my thought.
The good news is, Susan, is it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. I've already learned by checking on the other CBs. There's a couple CBs that have one committee, i.e. licensing, only in person, and others are hybrid. So it doesn't have to be one or none. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. So I just think that this is a conversation we need to have. It can also be tested in July. I've got tons of hands up. I'm going to go Paul, Betty, Pat, and then Justine.
Okay, I'm pretty much on the same page as Susan. I think we're better, and especially until we hire another staffer, maybe. And that memo from the borough president's office also said they need more time to discuss, working out details of where they want to go with this. So I think we should, as best we can, do in-person meetings. We certainly did in-person meetings for forever at this community board. Certainly COVID is no longer much of an issue for very many people. So I think we should, as best we can, just move forward with in-person meetings and try to manage it that way. We only have staff members, and let's try to make it work that way. Thank you.
I'm very sympathetic to the voice that wants to be completely in person. However, first of all, I'm the first committee that'll be coming up will be transportation. And one of the first speakers that I have on a very time sensitive is going to be on vacation. And not only does he also have to go to the CB2 meeting, which is the same night, but he has to call in to even present for CB1 because he will be on vacation. Otherwise, it can't be done at all. So I think no matter what, there has to be some flexibility, as you said, Tammy, with agencies and other presenters, because I don't really want to limit ourselves in that thing. Is there any way that we can say that everybody else has to be in person, that hybrid is only for presenters?
I asked that very question of the Borough President's office today, and the answer is no. If the agency is allowed or any presenter is allowed, then the public is allowed. It's good for the goose, good for the gander.
Okay, then my next question is, since I've never done it, and I know you have done a hybrid meeting in person with an in-person component, what do I as a chair get to see? I know when I'm home, I can see what hands are up online, but I know I don't have a computer when I'm in person. So how do I know what's going on in the virtual world while leading a meeting in the room world?
That's exactly why we want to have that other person, because for example, people were very surprised. I know Onej is going to say maybe to see Onej in the room saying, "Oh, how great you came to a full board." Onej is at every full board, but she's running the tech from upstairs. Lucian was running tech in room talking to me. Lucy was on the working with Mimi and Colin for vote sheets and notes. Right. So there's a lot of stuff happening.
Well, and that's why I kind of need to work it out, because obviously I have no choice. Mine has to be hybrid because I have a speaker that's going to be hybrid, so I have no choice. But otherwise, those are the machinations.
In that case,
I'm concerned about the person being hired not knowing what's really going on, and so I don't know how much help they would be to me anyway.
Well, they're here now. They're sitting next to Onej, and it's about somebody who could be, because we're in the office, sitting at, for example, if Onej is your person, she's in the meeting room with you, but that person is running the back end of the meeting, helping people who can't get online, helping people unmute and mute. And so you are able to say exactly as Alice did earlier, Onej, can you unmute Esther? And that person would actually end up being said college student in the office, hitting the unmute buttons and working on things while Onej is working like we used to, running the in-person meeting with the person in the room, but then able to go back and forth.
How does that work when I have someone like Jess who really handles a lot of things anyway in my committee?
We'll find out in July, won't we?
We will, thanks.
Okay, next person, Pat.
Well, I mean, we all know I have a personal issue because I've got mom duty. So I totally think we should, first of all, the world has changed. And now that we have the capability of doing hybrid meetings, I think we should continue with hybrid meetings. I think you should hire the college student to be there to help. And I think that we've discussed this a lot. We get more people attending meetings if they have the ability to be virtual. I mean, I know that I can go to almost all the committee meetings and know what's going on before we get to full board. So by the fact that we can do it virtually. That's all I've got to say.
Justine? Gotcha. Justine?
Yeah. So what can I say? I think I would do hybrid, but I would like to have people come in person. So for the same reason that Pat said, I want the meetings recorded regardless, but that will be a given, right? Even if because you said we could break it out. So for example, I know Jeff my co-chair had expressed a preference to be fully in person. That's fine. I mean, the Battery Park City Authority, they'll come, we'll get the presenters in, but if it's a meeting, can it be like one month because with Betty's like in the situation, people can't come to present in person, but we need to do something, so we'll be hybrid. And then 3 months is in person and then hybrid. Is that possible? Or do we just have to commit to something for a year?
That's gonna confuse the public.
Yeah, it will.
I think we need to try July. We need to figure out
Yeah.
what works, and then we need to go from there. And I just want to, me personally, I want to bring the college student on.
I agree with the
be able
college
to
student,
be
totally.
So, all right, so let's do this. Even though we're not supposed to do resos, I'm going to do a reso.
Okay,
Okay.
but I have one thing, Tammy.
Sure.
I want to know, I do want to know what the staff think, because I think no matter what, the burden is tremendous on them, and it's not going to be simple. And, you know, I saw how you did it, but you had help, and, you know, we don't have that big time person, and the college student can do so much, but the staff person and the chair are going to be, I don't know, seems a little cuckoo. That's all. I mean, I guess if you want to try it, you got to try it. But I think the staff.
I think if the staff had their choice, we would be in person only. There'd be no hybrid component at all.
No, I agree with them.
Unfortunately, that's not necessarily possible in all situations.
All right.
Jason, you're up.
Well, I would just say I think I'm old enough to remember meetings in person for the landmarks committee and various community boards, and that's the type of meeting that definitely works best in person. And I am fully aware, and Tammy knows and sees me doing all my work behind the scenes when we're at home, and I prefer that in a perfect world. But I would say in the case of my committee, I would always be leaning more towards you know, that our applicants are prepared to do an in-person presentation like before, with materials, with the whole thing. And if you don't come with that, we're not going to see the application. And I think, you know, it's kind of like an opportunity to play hardball one more time and put our criteria out there for presentations to the landmarks committee. I know recently, I don't want to bore everybody, but we had a memorable presentation by a group of people for a property in Tribeca that, frankly, I don't even think they owned the property, and they were really there more for feedback, but it was completely inappropriate. And, you know, we don't want that. So, and then I think, Tammy, I said I would try to help on one committee, like land use, doing one of those tasks. You know, you seem to feel like I couldn't do that at the landmarks committee meeting, but I don't know.
I need the chairs to chair.
Right, but who's
because you don't have any idea how bad the back end is, especially Onej can tell you about the people who can't mute, can't unmute. The chat to the host sometimes is off the charts.
Gotcha. Like who, when we go back, but who will be, for example, loading simply the presentations onto the screen?
The office, as they always will.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right, so that's my kind of, and of course, if there's any room in the budget for snacks for us, I'm sure that would make all these meetings much more productive.
I agree wholeheartedly. Mimi, you're next, and then we'll go back to Betty.
Hey,
and then Lucy.
YouTube, how we do YouTube if no video chats? Like, you know, I'm gonna be so embarrassed about that when that's on YouTube. But seriously, like how will we record? Will it just be audio recordings again, or how is that going backwards in a way that doesn't make sense? Should we?
We have the owls.
The owls can still record. We can still record it with the owls.
Okay, cool. But we just won't have the WebEx component, or could we have audience only WebEx? Kind of like in Zoom, there's that.
We can do that as well.
Because that means maybe it would be a little bit easier to deal with.
Audience only is great, but that's public audience only, which is fine. You have to also offer them equal opportunity if they choose to come to the room, because that's about accessibility and contact for both the media as well as the public. So at that point, Mimi, what you're talking about is a hybrid meeting.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, or at least like, yeah, kind of.
Your turn.
Hopefully you could hear me. I'm homesick. Thank you, Susan, for asking for the staff to give their input, and thank you, Tammy, for answering. She's absolutely right. The staff wants in-person committee meetings. We're okay with hybrid board meetings. Onej and I are the staff right now, and it's great that she wants to bring in a college student, but we think it is the best for the community board, for our office, excuse me, due to the fact that there are times that in our office we can't have internet access. Sometimes, and I think yesterday, Alice was texting that she couldn't get on, et cetera, to me to us during the time of the meeting. Sometimes we can't get on. And we can't always use the borough president's office. They have other meetings going on within. We are fortunate to use it for the full board meeting, but we can't always use it for committee meetings. I have a fear of the internet going down and we're not having access, etc. I also do not like the idea of switching committees. One committee have hybrid and one committee have in person, because the public gets confused. We get confused when we go into meetings and we're like, where the hell is the meeting at this evening? I don't know. Susan, how many times did you text me? Where's the password? And it's the same password because you missed the one. If you're gonna go hybrid, I think you should go 100%. If you're gonna go in person, it's 100%, because it gets confusing. Even with me being here in history with Battery Park City, people would still call me and say, where is the meeting? Oh, it's at the Battery Park City Authority. Oh, I thought it was at the office. No, that's the only meeting that we have at the authority. And people got confused with one meeting, even the full board meeting, which is great that we alternate, but people get confused. So if you're gonna do it either or hybrid, in my opinion, or do it in person. But we, and I say we, Onej and I, our preference is in person all the way. Thank you.
Agreed. I concur.
The only problem we have with that is the situations like we have tonight, and like Betty has, where agencies cannot participate. The public would like to speak, so let's unmute Diane Stein. She's a public member.
And can I speak?
Diane, you can unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I feel like a curmudgeon. I agree. I agree with Pat. You know, when we started having this and other meetings online, I was thinking, I hope we never go back to being in person. It was, and this is, I've had COVID recently, so it's not over, and it was even before the pandemic. It was hard for me to go to these meetings, and it would be very long, and then to get home, it was just, and late at night, it was just. I mean, I almost wish it would stay online. But I know that it's not possible. But if as long as we have the technology, I hope we can continue to have some kind of hybrid option. And also, do public members, would they be required to attend in person as well?
And for our part quorum. So you,
Tammy, you're breaking up. Do you want to come into the office and speak from my computer, because we could only hear a few words?
Oh, I can definitely do that.
Please come over. Thank you.
And there's a clear example.
Yeah, there you go. And I think that she was saying, yes, public members have to show up in person, but let her say it herself.
I'm just saying there's a clear example. Maybe I'm out of order, but been here for 40 years and in person always worked well, and we can see each other.
Sometimes that's not such a good thing. Sorry.
Exactly.
Ron. Okay, so now you have both Onej and I. The answer, Diane, is absolutely. You are part of quorum. We must have an in-person quorum to do all meetings. So when we come back in, all committees will have to have people in the office. We're going to be super strict about whether or not the reasons And that's kind of the way that has to go.
That's why I raised my hand. A lot of people are confused about the difference between remote and hybrid. Hybrid does not mean remote as meaning what we're doing right now. Hybrid means some amount of people will have to be in person. It means in person as well as online. That means the committee members will have to have quorum in person.
So if somebody's sick and they can't attend, they're
absent.
They're absent. Okay.
They're absent unless you fall in line with the emergency rules that are on there. And I can send those out again for everyone on the board. But unless you fall in those guidelines, you are considered absent. Yep. And I already had somebody who said to me, I can't come to the full board, or I'm traveling. I'm about to, that's the day that I'm in travel, but I can tune in from the airport. And I'm like, that doesn't count. You can't be hybrid based on the emergency rules because it's not a unexpected work trip. That's not known. It's a vacation. Enjoy your vacation. Take the absence. I just follow the rules. I don't make them, people. But I am rather concerned about making July work and knowing that this is going to be a bumpy road. And we will have some that are in person and some that are not. So, and there are bandwidth issues in this office for Wi-Fi, without a doubt. I think Onej's computer works great because she's not on Wi-Fi. She's on internet.
On the city's
Yep.
Ethernet.
Yep. I was on Wi-Fi, she was on Ethernet. All right, other questions?
So what do you want to do, Tammy?
Betty, let Betty go first.
Sorry. I am very concerned about reaching quorum. I was based on my experience with full board, where we have been doing hybrid, people don't take it seriously about attending in person, even when they're able to. The fact that you can call someone and say, oh, please show up so we can make quorum means they didn't have to be remote. So I want to be as strict as possible. No repetitions, because we see the same people month after month not showing up, putting a huge strain on those others to not be sick, to not have emergencies, to not have any other issues. I can't emphasize enough, people have to come to the meetings in person.
I don't disagree with you at all. In fact, that's kind of the rule that goes out. And after tonight's meeting, that's a note that I will send tomorrow to the full board that tells them you must be in person, period. That's the way it goes. The public will be able to come in online if they would like to be online. If we have the last minute presenter from Waterways and Port Authority who needs to be remote because they can't make it because it's a last minute addition to an agenda, that's fine. But other than that, all the board members are expected in person. Any board member who, I have to have a medical note, it has to fall in the categories, and they can, if they don't like it, they can certainly appeal for judgment to the borough president's office. But I'm just following the rules that I was told. And you all saw the email that came out today from the borough president's office. Some party out there. If you hear music, it's not us. There's a party outside the window.
Which basically says we have to, as board members and public members, we have to show up in person no matter what choice we make.
But the email also said they need more time to talk about it. And they said they're going to do it at the next borough board meeting. So maybe it's premature for us to sort of make a final call.
Well, borough board, Paul, is the middle of July. So really, we know that July is going to be meeting. If I hear and read the tea leaves, licensing and landmarks will be fully in person. Transpo and quality of life will be hybrid. As of right now, I'm reading the tea leaves. Battery Park City will probably be hybrid or in person with video recorded.
In person with video recorded.
And I know that EPC, because of the topic that it is, has to be hybrid because not all the representatives can be in the room.
So The committees can decide whether they want to go in person or hybrid, I guess, by the end of the month.
By tomorrow.
Oh, I don't know if I'll be ready by then. And the other thing is that, you know, very honestly, it's probably going to be more popular to be hybrid because more people are going to prefer to have that option. So if you, as a committee chair, say you have to show up, it's not going to be a very popular choice, to be perfectly honest.
Well, some of us don't care about popularity.
Well, all right. But, well, I don't care solely about that, but I don't want to.
Listen, I understand, but there's just so much we can do, Paul. And I think part of our problem is that we're not in person and we're not dealing with each other. And that's a piece of the problem. But, you know, each of us has our own view. So.
All right. Well, I would think I at least have to talk to my co-chair. All right.
Tammy, I just want to say again, you are not in the background with Onej and I, and she hasn't been here that long to get it. I do not agree with doing one meeting hybrid and one meeting in person. It's either one or the other. I am telling you, it's very confusing to the public. I am telling you, people call us all the time and say, where the heck is the meeting? I can't get on. I made an example of Battery Park City that they, and Justine's shaking her head. She agrees with me. She understands. Where's the meeting? I thought it was in your office. If you're going to go hybrid, go hybrid. If you're going to go in person, go in person. I'm begging you for that. It is very confusing. And unless you're going to be in that office picking up those phone calls, then it's not something that's good for us. Sorry.
See, my question is, you mean every meeting? Is that your question? That's what you're saying? Because I'm not clear. You're saying everybody should be one or the other, not
correct? Because it's very confusing to the public and to us. And then there are chairs that automatically wake up in the middle of the day and say, "Where am I supposed to be?" Come on, let's be realistic. You call a spade a spade.
Middle of the day. It's when people are calling.
I got in this phone call. Where am I supposed to be?
At 6 o'clock.
Yeah, well,
excuse me,
Jason.
Yeah, Tammy had this vision last time, 5:30, 6 o'clock, and thank goodness she listened to me because people wouldn't know what the time the meetings are at. It's just, let's be realistic. People get confused. I'm sorry if I have to be straightforward, but it is the truth. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's the staff is the people that have to get the burden. Where's the meeting? Where it's at? Oh, wait a minute. I decided that I have a party, so I want to go hybrid tomorrow. Come on.
And it's fine, Lucy, because if we end up being hybrid, all board members still have to be in person. And we can tell the presenters they have to be in person. And we can try and preserve hybrid only for very tightly, emergency basis.
All I'm saying, Ms. Meltzer, is it gets confusing to others. And you do not have a full staff to respond to all these questions and answers. We have people, where is it on Zoom? Is it on WebEx? Is it in person? Is it at the Zoom? I want a local place. Sorry. I'll be quiet. I'm out of order. Sorry.
Jason and Mimi, in that order.
Did you say Jason again?
I did. Your hands up.
I feel like I really sympathize with what Lucy's saying, and I just want to reiterate that, it's important to have consistency on these things. In our meeting at Landmarks, there was a huge drop-off in public attendance during COVID. It's so remarkably clear to me. And I would love to do remote forever. It would keep me on the board longer. But the hard fact is, again, Landmarks should be in person. And I agree with Lucy, who's got a lot going on over there, that we kind of have to do a unilateral thing with exceptions, of course, for people so that meetings can go on timely. Like, for example, Betty's example. Of course, if something is extremely time sensitive and there's make an exclusion, but for the sake of the community, I think they need to know that.
I got you, Jason. Mimi, you're next.
So, yeah, I hear you on consistency. I think that it's really important to also, but I do just want to make sure that Betty and Pat know that I'm, willing to help out on the tech side in our committees. And to what you said, Tammy, were you implying that we could have essentially like a presenter call in if it's, an extenuating circumstance? As opposed to having everybody call in, it would just be one presenter at a
The
time?
requirement for hybrid is that we have quorum in the room, much like we do at full board. So every committee, the board members need to go to the office unless you have an emergency approval. There is no automatic emergency approval. You can't just be sitting in your apartment because you're late or at your office. If you're running late because you're at work, then you show up late, you're in person. But if a presenter cannot make it and it's time sensitive and they request to be virtual, we honor that in hybrid. If we continue to do hybrid, we would still say all the people have to be in the room, all the presenters have to be in the room, but we would allow the public the opportunity to not be in our tiny room. Right, but we have to have quorum in the room. That's just the way it goes. So from my perspective, all board members should think to themselves, I'm going to 1 Center Street, period. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, I hear you on, I definitely think all the board members should be person if possible. I agree with all that. I'm just thinking about Betty's specific situation for our committee, where, there's someone that needs to be in 2 places at once. But would that require then that the public would also have to be able to call in? Did I miss that somewhere? Why is that? Could we just go back to the 90s where you just have like a conference call and one of those little, and you just like have them dial in and no.
No, because that's what I thought you said too. I thought it can't be both. That's what I don't understand. I'm confused.
If you allow a presenter, the open meeting laws were based on access for the public and access for the press, right? So if you allow a presenter to be online, you have to offer the equal opportunity to the public and the press.
Wow.
That's what I was told. Therefore, we want everybody to come in person. And if there's nobody online, who cares? That's fantastic. That's great news.
So what before times, was there ever a situation where a presenter asked to call in? No?
No,
Wow.
never. That was never an option prior to COVID at Community Board 1.
Wow. Thank you. Appreciate it. Love you guys.
It was wild, but people showed up. And you either showed up and you got your situation heard, or you didn't show up and you had to go to the next month. And there was no, oh, wow, we ran out of quorum. Let's take this over to executive. That I did during the pandemic because it was such a mess, but that never happened either. And ideally it won't happen again because everybody will have quorum for their committees.
So what kind of resolution are you looking for?
I cannot hire the lovely college student and pay her for the month of July to help us bridge unless I have a resolution behind it.
Well, that seems.
No one's arguing with that.
That's not controversial, is it?
I don't think so. Can I call a question?
I'll second it even.
Yes, I was going to call the question.
Clever's
Yes, agreed.
voting, please.
All voting cameras on. That's Alice and Jason and Patrick. Thank you.
I didn't get a chance to ask another question.
Go ahead, Pat. Is it about this or can we go forward? Because the question, no, wait, you have to wait. Because this, it was asked, called the question and seconded.
I had my hand up though before.
Have her hand up.
Yeah, well, you can ask a question afterwards. All in favor of hiring, as possible, if we get it, the college student to help us through July? Okay, great. Are there any no's? Are there any abstentions? No recusals? Fantastic. Motion passes we'll vote on it at full board. Pat, did you have a question about the office?
I had a question. So if we stay hybrid and say I always go to Betty's Transportation Committee meeting, can I still ask questions? Does it function the same way it has been, that I can participate even though I'm hybrid?
Because well, first of all, if she's on a Tuesday, we hope that you'll be here in person. Correct? Right. On the days that she is not on a Tuesday and you are on that committee, right?
And I'm not on the committee.
You're just attending. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, you have to have prior approval from the chair. There's no daytime approvals. The rules are really specific. If there is a, let me pull it up, I think. You want me to go grab my phone from your room? Here it is.
But the question,
it kind of goes like this. Okay, here's what qualifies for extraordinary: unexpected disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, unexpected work travel, weather conditions that prevent safe travel for those with accessibility needs that will permit a member to attend remotely, a medical condition creating vulnerability to COVID that has to be verified by a doctor's note. So I'm running late from work, sorry, show up to the meeting late. I need to leave early, so you leave the meeting early. Everything is about extraordinary. This is not normal. And if you have any known medical thing that's vulnerable to COVID, it has to be verified by a doctor's note. Again, these are not my rules. This is done by what City Council did. We're just rolling with it. The public
don't sound like unreasonable rules, though. I mean, are they?
I speak to one thing I'm concerned about. There can be some weather conditions that make it very difficult with a mobility device. It's not real often, but nevertheless it can happen. It's not like walking, where I didn't have to worry about my electronics going out and getting stranded.
Included. That's included, Betty. That's covered.
Which one did that fall into?
Weather conditions that prevent safe travel conditions for those with accessibility needs.
Oh, thank you.
You're covered.
Because the other question I was going to ask was, because this is kind of in response to what Pat was saying, my intent is really to deal with in the room people, and then at the end, let the people who are hybrid ask questions, simply because it'll be more organized than trying to get somebody going back and forth with calling on people on the computer, in the room,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. That's the way one has to do it, Betty. You can't do it any other way. And you have to limit them. They don't, Pat can talk, but then you say, I'm sorry, that's enough of the public. Goodbye. We're going to do our voting.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that if you're in person, you have, I don't want to say you have priority, but you're in the room. You're in the room, you go first. You're online, you wait. Because then you're going to listen to everything that happens. If your question has not been answered, then your hands up and then you go. But
I think Betty made a great point. I have to tell you, I think if we're stuck with this crap in some way, pardon me, then we should have some kind of procedure where we're all consistent in how we deal with it. That's all I'm thinking. That I'm sorry, public. This is how we're going to conduct the meeting. I mean, I think the parameters should be set up so everybody knows.
I think that we can do that in the month of July. And I think everybody in the room goes first. We go around the table like we do it we used to do, or Jason does, You go around the room. If anybody in the room has questions, any of the committee members, the public with their hands up, then you go online, and anybody online gets a minute. And I have to say, we don't want to be traveling around going anywhere, because if you're not plugged into an Ethernet, the Wi-Fi in this building is terrible, which is the reason why Onej was always up in the office, because she could be running things on a dedicated hard line.
Yeah.
And it's so different, so much better. She's not tied up if it's raining, worrying about getting that aspect of. I already told our elected officials we prefer that their reps are in the room.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, let's move on.
So we're moving on. So I think we're good. Anybody, Lucy, I'm sorry, we're still going hybrid.
Do you have a vote on this?
No, we didn't need to vote because we had already have a resolution on hybrid meetings. So
then
we're
what
just,
was the purpose of the whole conversation for 20 minutes then if you already had a resolution? I'm being very sarcastic.
because if everybody said, forget it, we're going back in person, then we would rescind.
I'm
the other
just saying to
resolution.
you, do not drive me crazy in every other meeting being different because it's not gonna work for me. I'm sorry if I'm being bold. I'm not gonna go crazy. One Monday is on hybrid and Tuesdays in person and Fridays in the zoo and Saturday. I'm not going crazy, Tammy. I'm not
Just
going
like
crazy.
to add on top of that, if you guys make Lucy crazy, you're gonna make me crazy. And then it'll make my work difficult.
So could I ask a question?
Sure.
Because I'm dazed and confused. what, I have said all along that I want to have everybody in person, right? That I want my committee in person, unless whatever the borough president's rule is, right? That I have to deal with. Am I correct? Is that what I'm stuck with? I'm just so confused. I really don't
You could
understand.
be fully in person, but we're gonna basically what we're gonna tell the board members are you got to be in the room. All presenters, you got to be in the room. Oh my God, Jason, you look like you're in Blue's Clues. So we're all back. All the presenters are back. There will be an online element that will be accessible for the public. And then we're going to leave it like that. As Betty said, if there's someone who has a emergency.
Yeah, I got that. All right. Well,
basically what Tammy is trying to say is how we're doing full board is how she wants these meetings to be done.
I'd love it if there was nobody online. All right.
Tammy, that means that we have to be, Battery Park City has to be in the office.
I think we should make you in the office.
All right.
Being eaten by a gerbil.
So
It's a guinea pig.
I am clear, since I have to be running things as well.
All right.
What else?
No in person. There's no in-person meeting. Fully in person.
Okay. I'm having. I don't care. I'm going to have fully in person.
Asking.
We're going to tell all presenters and all board members to be in the room.
Yeah. All right.
And that the online will be available for the public only. Public wants to come in person, they're welcome to, but they're also welcome online. That's it. That should cut down on all of it.
Well, we'll see what happens. All right, we're gonna have to live with it. Ugh, shit. Oh,
well, I think if we do it that way, just listen. If we do it that way, then anybody who comes from the public can be moved to panelists. They still can't be able to unmute themselves, but at least they'll be up in panelist mode.
Who's going to be in panels?
If all the board members and all the presenters are in person.
Yeah, everybody could be a panelist. That makes sense.
And anybody from the public can be a panelist. But they can't unmute themselves. We would still have them fully muted.
What's the point?
What's the point? Yeah.
What's the point then?
I want the public. You want to complain? Come to the meeting.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I kind of agree with that one too.
I don't want to hear you on the whatever. I have this like. Oh well.
So
I'll just be my old bitty nasty self. That's it.
Listen, I'm really good, Susan. I'd love to see how this rolls in July. And I suspect by the time we get to executive, people are going to be screaming at me, in person, the hell with it. And that'll be fantastic.
All right. Okay.
Except for maybe Betty.
All right. No, I think Betty is a good sport. And unless there's something extenuating, she'll be there. I don't have any trouble with Betty.
I have to say, she shows up to more meetings than anybody else.
That's right. So don't, no. I won't give you that one for Betty. All right, what else do we have?
That's it. We're gonna say good night. Thank you very much. I don't need to
thank
do any
you.
reports. It's been a good month. And
You're all going to hear about Chambers Street and the former Palm, and everybody
her
is
hand up and
hysterical.
okay, we may. Do you need to be first again, Susan?
I'd like to be first. I'd like to get the whole thing over with.
Detta, you're next, and then I'm going to adjourn the meeting after that. Detta, go.
Goodbye. Good night, everybody.
Detta.
I just wondered about the presenters coming in person. Like, what if it's the people from the DDC or the DOH or the
They used to come in
fucking
person.
get themselves there. Come on.
Yeah, they used to come in person, Detta. Every single buddy used to come.
I'm not saying what they should or shouldn't do or what they used to do or what they. I'm just saying, what if our policy conflicts with their current willingness?
We'll take that on a case-by-case basis. Our request will be all presenters are in person. As we used to be, they have to be in person for city council. They have to be in person for everything else. They ask us to be in person, so we will ask them to be in person. Extenuating circumstances can apply to them as well.
Bye.
I think with that, Susan's making a motion to adjourn.
I am.
There we go. So at 8:24, meeting is adjourned, and thank you so much, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
It's still recording.